The battlefield was eerily silent. The dust had barely settled from the clash of swords, and the air was thick with the stench of war. Among the fallen was a nameless man, struck down before his time, lifeless, his body hurriedly carried away by his comrades. They had no time for a proper burial, no time for mourning. Enemy raiders were approaching fast, and survival was all that mattered. Panic-stricken, the men searched desperately for a place to lay their fallen friend to rest. And then, by sheer chance, or perhaps by divine providence, they stumbled upon an open tomb. A burial site already prepared, but not just any tomb. It was the resting place of Elisha, the prophet of God. With no other option, they hastily threw the body into the grave, hoping to return later when the danger had passed. The lifeless corpse tumbled downward, landing upon the bones of the long-dead prophet. And then the impossible happened. The moment his body touched Elisha's bones, life surged back into him. His lungs filled with air, his heart began to beat, and his eyes fluttered open. The once dead man sat up, fully alive. Imagine the terror, the confusion, the awe. The very men who had just buried him were now watching him rise from the grave. This astonishing event is recorded in 2 Kings chapter 13, verses 14 to 21. Elisha died and was buried. Now Moabite raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders, so they threw the man's body into Elisha's tomb. When the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. 2 Kings chapter 13, verses 20 to 21. This is one of the most mysterious and powerful miracles in the Bible. A dead man resurrected simply by touching the bones of a prophet. But why did this happen? Was there power in Elisha's bones? Was it a sign from God? To understand the significance of this event, we must look at Elisha's life. He was no ordinary prophet. He was the successor of Elijah, the great prophet who was taken to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha had asked for a double portion of Elijah's spirit, 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9, and his ministry was filled with extraordinary miracles, multiplying oil, healing the sick, even raising the dead. But Elisha himself never saw his final miracle. It happened after he was gone. His very bones still carried an anointing that defied death. Some might wonder, how could a prophet's bones bring a man back to life? The truth is, it wasn't Elisha's bones that had power, but the God of Elisha. This miracle wasn't about relics or magical remains. It was about God's sovereign power over life and death. Throughout the Bible, God has shown his dominion over death. From the resurrection of the widow's son by Elijah, 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 21 to 22, to Jesus raising Lazarus after 4 days in the tomb, John 11:43-44, and ultimately, Christ's own triumph over the grave. God is the giver and restorer of life. But this story also serves as a reminder that God's promises do not die with his servants. Elisha's earthly ministry had ended, but the power of God had not. Even in death, his life still testified to the greatness of the Lord. It also symbolizes something deeper. Sometimes the very thing we think is over, our dreams, our purpose, our faith, can be revived when placed in the right hands. If God can bring life to a dead man through the bones of a prophet, imagine what he can do for those who are spiritually dead, yet still within reach of his power. This story is not just about a miracle of the past, it is a message of hope. It tells us that no situation is too far gone, no person is too lost, and no circumstance is beyond God's ability to restore. So, the next time you feel like all hope is buried, remember, God still brings the dead back to life. Share this message of hope so others can be blessed. Like and subscribe to this channel for more faith-inspiring content.